In the event Donald wins, I have no doubt in my mind the market tanks.
Well, that's billionaire Mark Cuban telling me if the other billionaire who's running for president wins, you lose, investors lose. Is he right? Is he wrong? Let's ask. All right, hi, everyone. Glad to be back on the El Cabuto to Ben Stein, Charles Payne, Charlie Gasparino, along with Kennedy. She's like Madonna, just Kennedy. And Adam was debating, just Adam. He's sticking with Adam Lashinsky. Dagan McDowell, doing her usual great job sub-hosting Bulls and Bears. Now, I first of all want to thank Charles. I want to thank Elizabeth McDonald, Stuart Varney, David Asman for sitting in while I was away. They were remarkable, particularly Charles, who I love dearly like a brother, but the fact is, no, you cannot call it Payne on business. All right, now, back to my show. Charles, that's what he's saying. Stocks will tank. Trump wins just on the uncertainty.
Yeah, you know, first of all, it's a dangerous thing, gaming the market based on who wins the White House, because let's face it, a lot of people watching this show missed one of the greatest rallies in history because Barack Obama was elected. Now, having said that, I think Cuban is worried about some of the trade rhetoric.
Why are you blaming this show for that?
No, I'm not blaming the show. I'm just saying a lot of people who saw
but you're saying that they were watching this show and they missed it.
Well, they watch our show because they want information about the financial markets, but they didn't take it because Barack Obama was president.
I see.
And they say, you know, as long as this guy's in, I'm not buying. In fact, I'm selling at a huge loss. Well, guess what? They missed one of the best rallies in history. I think where Cuban is coming from,
he's a big Hillary supporter.
Well, we know he's a Hillary supporter, but I think some people on Wall Street, and Charlie Gasparino has talked about this, are concerned about a potential trade war. But let's face it, we want lower taxes. We want fewer regulations. We want Obamacare ditched. Those are the three main things that if you are
not everybody.
If you're in the market, I don't see why you would not want that. If you're long stocks, why wouldn't you want higher corporate profits?
Kenny, what do you think of that?
I don't think that Mark Cuban is any sort of a tarot card reader. I would not pay him $10 to read my palm. I think this is political expediency.
Yeah, cool. What harm would that do? What's $10 to you? What is $10 to you?
So much more than it is to Mark Cuban.
It might help.
Like $10 billion to Mark Cuban.
Right.
But I have to say, you know, he's politically and personally motivated here. He's like a mini hipster Bloomberg. Well, he's not a mini Bloomberg because that would be like Hervé Villechaize, God rest his soul. But what I'm saying is, you know, he's a know-it-all. He's a blatherer.
But on the uncertainty part, we don't know what we get.
Who likes to run things.
Okay.
He thinks he knows better than Donald Trump, and he's mad he's not running.
I think you're talking about Donald Trump as tyrannical billionaires, not Mark Cuban.
I think Cuban is also a tyrannical billionaire.
I don't think so.
I believe
if you know anything about Cuban, he's not. But let's get back to the central point, which is whether the markets
still don't get along.
But we love each other so much. It's crazy.
It's just that it's hard to sit there and call him a tyrannical billionaire when you're talking about Trump. But in any event, you know, the markets will trade off if Donald Trump gets elected. There's no doubt about that. The question is, do you buy them after they trade off? And here's why. If you think Donald Trump is just giving you rhetoric about trade, that he's never going to go near that trade war, all that stupid stuff about NAFTA, which is very hard to do because of a Congress involved here, you buy the market because the most pro-growth agenda out there right now is Donald Trump's. There's no doubt. It's not even close. Hillary wants to complicate the tax system by like a gazillion %. It's absurd what she wants to do with the economy. So I look at it this way. I want the markets to implode when Donald Trump becomes president. I want Congress to stop him from doing anything stupid with trade, and then I buy stocks.
Adam?
Well, I'd go back to where Charles started this, which is that people overestimate the impact of all sorts of things on the market. So we see this when there's a tragic airplane crash or when there's a natural disaster that disrupts global supply chains and stocks trade down, but then they tend to come right back to where they were. I think if the market expects Hillary Clinton to be elected and they wake up and find out that Donald Trump is going to be president, the markets may well crash in a day. I didn't hear the time frame that he was talking about, but I don't think that should be something that investors, you know, real investors should be concerned about.
Ben Stein, we always play this politics game and the impact on the markets. Is there much of one?
Well, we just don't know what the impact is going to be. We don't know if Mark Cuban can predict the market. 99.99% of the time, individuals cannot predict the market. So it's just the idea that this gentleman, rich as he is, smart as he is, charming as he is, can predict the market is just nonsense. We don't know what's going to happen in the long run. We don't know what's going to happen in the short run. He cannot predict the market.
No, but Ben, we can. I think we can speculate. We can speculate, I think, on things that will shock the market. And as I said, if people are surprised on the day after Election Day that Donald Trump is going to be their president, that we can, I think, reasonably predict
Right.
would be a short-term shock.
I mean, look at what happened.
But
Well, we
wouldn't
can
we
predict
be
it, but
prepared
that
for
doesn't
that?
mean it's true. I mean,
No.
we
Yeah, but
can
the
predict
likelihood
any
of that
damn thing
having-
we want to predict. That doesn't mean it's true.
Okay, but the likelihood of that having a long-term impact is the same as Amy Schumer moving to Spain,
not if
and
you
Samuel
start-
L. Jackson moving to South Africa,
And I agree with
and
that.
Miley Cyrus moving to Canada. None of that is going to have any long-term impact. The thing that might have an impact on the market is whether or not Donald Trump is consistent with his talk about the Fed propping up a false economy, and the link between the Fed and keeping interest rates politically motivated, keeping of the interest rates low, and having some effect on that. Because if, in fact, he is able to influence that, and that does have an effect on the market, then that may be.
That is not.
That's not what Mark Cuban's talking about.
That's
but there
not
could
gonna-
be.
That
That
is
is-
a sure ratings disaster when you veered into the Fed.
No, but I don't think the Fed is.
And the Fed, Neil.
Now let's
and
be
the Fed.
let's make 2 points here. When it looked like Hillary Clinton was going to get indicted by James Comey, the market went down. There's no doubt about that. You just follow the Dow. It was going down when he was calling her all these names.
Short term.
Short term, right. Now here's where the long-term problematic thing is for and by the way, short term sometimes lasts a year. Just so you know, that's so short term when you're losing money.
Fair enough.
And it's not the Fed. It is trade. If he really does go ahead with a trade war, these markets will crash. That would be a
With the
problem.
markets, I guess what I was trying to get at.
Why will they crash? Charlie, why would they crash? I mean,
When
trade
companies
is not
would-
that gigantic
People
a
would
thing
lose
in the
faith in the
U.S.
global
economy.
economic
It could
system.
affect it,
Come
but
on,
it wouldn't
Ben,
make it crash.
You know that a trade war
is not a
good.
giant thing in the U.S.
Are you
Sir,
sa-
trade in the U.S. economy is not a
Well,
giant
suppose- okay,
factor.
no,
It's
no,
not
but-
like the British
No,
or
but you're-
Japanese economy.
With all due respect, Dr. Stein, you are conflating the U.S. economy with stocks. And I know there's some confluence between the two. But if Apple can't trade freely, if companies cannot trade freely, their stocks will go, those shares
Charlie's
will go down.
totally right.
The growth.
Whoa.
Yes.
Did I hear that right?
That's not the first time, Neil.
Charlie's totally right.
I took
Every now and
In
then.
all seriousness, guys, could I ask you that? What if it looked as the polls are now narrowing, and then let's say 6 weeks from now, it shows Trump leading. In other words, the markets are more prepared for that possibility. Whether you like Trump or not, wouldn't the element of surprise be out of it?
That removes the shock factor
Yes.
that Adam Lashinsky was talking about. I mean, think about the Brexit thing, right? That was back and forth, but going into that actual vote, it looked like Stay was going to win. When it didn't win, the markets were shocked. We took a tumble, and guess what? Anyone who bought that dip made a lot of money. I happen to
My
agree
point
with
precisely,
Charlie
Charles.
also. It's the profits for the S&P 500, which only a year and a half ago hit an all-time high, are driven by the ability of Whirlpool to sell washing machines in Argentina, Harley Davidson to sell motorcycles in China, and if that's interrupted, the market will get hit and could get hit hard.
Young people then would be reminded yet again in the fall, Kennedy, because there's a habit to this sort of thing, that the markets are not to be trusted, and just as some of them, not all, are dipping their toe back in the water, they're going to take it out. That's a long-term negative.
No, I think if you're talking about young people and perhaps some of them taking a more simplistic view, they would see that Donald Trump has money, he likes money, therefore the markets are all about making more money, so maybe there are more amateur investors that would get into the marketplace because
What do you think?
But the amateur investor is a trivial factor in the market.
You're
I mean, the
absolutely
market
right.
is moved by gigantic big traders.
I know.
The little millennial dip nothing
but you're
is
right.
not a big factor in the
you hate
market.
young people. You're ageist.
Ben, you're absolutely right about that. The millennials are stupid, and they don't mean that much in terms of this market.
Whoa.
Sorry.
The millennials
Stupid
are
is a
not,
little
are
unnecessary.
not stupid.
They are. They're
And
not.
secondly,
A lot of them are.
We're not
we have a
saying
thing
they're
called a
stupid,
demo we
but
value.
They're trivial.
Okay, they're trivial, but
They're not
Ben,
stupid, but
irrelevant.
they're trivial. They're trivial.
You're making my earlier point, Ben, that these global players do worry about trade. And if Donald Trump goes through with all that
Everything is trade with it.
nonsense,
Everything
well,
is
because
trade.
it's a big
Sir,
negative.
It's not
It
trade,
might
guys. It's
affect-
corporate profits.
Yeah,
It's
corporate
profits.
Bottom line, we weren't interested in a few days or a few months, just enough for about 8 minutes to get through that thing.